Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's ACY Securities webinar, Forex Trading Live Market Analysis. My name is Duncan Cooper. Before we get along, if you can just read through this disclaimer, that would be great. As well, if you have any questions, just type them into the question box or chat box. If you're on our live stream on YouTube, I can't see the chat, so I can't see any questions that you're putting in, but you're more than welcome to just follow the link that I've given so that you can come into the room and join us. Or you can just watch along, but you just can't ask me any questions because I can't see the chat. All right, so we'll just read through this disclaimer. There's some more people coming into the room. All right, let's move along. If you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm the Senior Market Strategist and Trading Mentor here at ACY Securities. And I'm a full-time trader in trading the market for more than 15 years, the Forex market, mentoring clients for more than 10. If you want to contact me, then my email's on the screen there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. Anything to do with the webinars, you can shoot me an email. If you want to follow me through the week, my analysis is on our website, acy.com, Market News tab. At our YouTube channel, ACY Securities Australia. You can connect with me on Twitter and LinkedIn if you wish. As well, through the week, I'm providing some analysis in our Telegram channel. If you want to get access to that, just contact Nathan Bray. His email's down at the bottom. I'll put it in the chat momentarily. As well, if you want to get access to my chart layouts, templates, and indicators that I'm using in the MT4, then just contact Nathan. He will sort that out for you. Next week, Monday the 5th, we've got our Inner Circle webinar for ACY account holders. So if you'd like to get access to that, just contact Nathan. He's the guy that determines who can come from one month to the next. So if you'd like to come along, just contact him and have a chat with him. I just turn up. Clients have the opportunity of talking about their trading and asking questions and anything they want to talk about to do with trading. And I'm there to talk with them. Nathan's there too. If they want to ask us both questions, that's fine. But you can ask me anything you want to regarding trading, what's going on in the market at the moment, anything to do with your own trading. That's what that webinar is all about. All right, just putting Nathan's details in the chat. So any questions about what I've just covered or any account opening questions, he can help you out with that as well. All right, that's in the chat. All right, now let's just go and have a look at what's happening in the news coming up for the day. Let me just refresh this. All right, so we got some red calendar news events coming out for the week. Canada news today, GDP, 11:30 p.m. These are Queensland time. 1 in the morning, we've got Governor Bay speaking and for the pound and US CB consumer confidence. Tomorrow we've got 11:15 p.m. ADP non-farm employment change, prelim GDP for the US at 11:30. Job openings at 1 a.m. Okay. And later on in the week, I cover these on Thursday's analysis, but we've got Fed Chair Powell speaking 4:30 in the morning. 11:30 p.m. on Thursday, the core PCE price index data, ISM manufacturing PMI from the US, and then obviously the job figures on Friday. So there are some risk events coming out. So be aware of where they are. Try and get your trading done around them, or at least get your trades managed. All right, so let's get to the charts now. It is a bit frustrating at the moment, I have to say, because we had a downside movement yesterday from the pairs to the US. Well, maybe it was a little bit upside and then a very strong downside move, but not really followed through today at the moment. Price is just moving back up the ranges. So I tried to show its hand maybe that it wanted to sell off, but then we've obviously then just traded back down, back up the other way, I should say, at the moment anyway. So on some of the pairs, let's just have a look at the dollar index. So dollar index yesterday has potentially put in a double bottom here, maybe. Like the euro dollar did the opposite. The dollar yen did exactly what this looks like. But then we haven't had any follow through. You can see that the dollar index is moving down. It hasn't followed through above really yesterday's high with any conviction. So are we going to see a double bottom here for a move up? We're probably all aware what the monthly looks like if you're following webinars. Dollar index here is having a very good month down. It's been playing at some resistance levels. Notably, it is at the 7% retracement of that major range. So, I mean, potentially we could have topped out here long term, but the monthly trend isn't changing yet. Well, I haven't been able to get down to these tops. The weekly trend is down, but are we bottoming here? We've broken below this low because of the month down. And I would suggest this level here, which is 107.67. If we move back above that level, then there's every chance we're going to be moving up next month. So that's really the line in the sand for the dollar index, 107.67. And that level is, let me get it in. Now, whilst ever we're below that level and we want to hold below that level, there's every opportunity potentially that we can still move deeper down. To the day, Slavia is saying could be a head and shoulders forming on the index. Are you looking at this as a head? And that as a shoulder, head, and this is a right shoulder here. Weekly. I'm not quite seeing what you're seeing. Are you looking at, well, I don't see a head and shoulders there. Are you looking like a inverse head and shoulders? Seventh of August, left shoulder. I don't know. I think I don't see a head and shoulders. If that's the left shoulder, where's the head? The head needs to be underneath the shoulder. So that can't be the head. If that's the left shoulder here, the head needs to be below the shoulder. So I'm not seeing a head and shoulders there. You're looking at the top. You're looking at that as a head. So you're saying we've got the 7th of August as the left shoulder. Well, the 7th of August is down here. That can't be a left shoulder. If you're looking at not just a normal head and shoulders, a normal head and shoulders looks like so. So we need to come up and have a left shoulder somewhere. So I don't know where the left shoulder is. There's not a major left shoulder. It could have a minor left shoulder just there. I don't know. I'm not really seeing that pattern there at the moment. All right. So right now you're saying it's just a guess. Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't really see a rock solid head and shoulder pattern potentially could form there at the moment. All I'm seeing is that we're having a month down. And because of the month down, we have broken the weekly structure to down. But if we get back above this weekly low to the left here and start to hold above it, that could just be the final bottom for a long-term move up. So the line in the sand with this dollar index is if whilst we're below 107.67, if we keep testing and holding below, there's every chance we can still move further down. So we'll just have to wait and see. And of course, if we do move further down, there's this very strong level of potential support here. So there could be a bit more to the downside if it wants to, but this would be potentially support at 103.82. So at the moment though, on the daily, I do see a potential pattern here as a double bottom. You know, breaking above yesterday's high starts to put that as a possibility, but then we need to break above this high, which will get us above that weekly level of resistance I was just discussing. So are we putting in a bottom here? That's the question. If we're putting in a bottom here, then we could be topping out on some of the pairs to the US dollar. If we're putting in a bottom here, the dollar yen could be bottoming out too. So are we bottoming out there on the dollar index on the S&P 500? You know, we got the kind of inverse. Are we putting a little double top in here to move down? This has still got a higher bottom here, but a double top there. So, you know, are the sellers starting to win out here? You know, breaking below here would certainly put the sellers in command. So, you know, picture on some of these instruments at the moment are a little bit unclear. It's unclear and you're not sure, you don't have to trade. So that being said, I'm going to go to the dollar yen first of all. And it's got the levels in I will put in the Telegram today. First level I was looking at was a central pivot here, which held for a while. We did actually get a good move off early Asia, but then we've been moving down the range. My next lower level I was watching is 138.00 and last week's low, which we're clearly having a bounce there at the moment. So can you see the setup that you like to trade up from that level? All right, last week's low, 138.04 down to the figure is holding there at the moment. Now, let's just go to the higher time frames. Weekly here, whilst we're underneath this weekly level of support that could be resistance now if it wants to be. We're at the, you know, we were pretty much at the 62% level on the closer yesterday, holding there. We tested last week's low down here yesterday, and here we go. That's not last week's low here, that's the week before's. Last week's low is that low where my mouse is. So we're testing 2 weeks of lows here. Our fraction went below 137.66 yesterday, so potentially like the index, we could be forming a double bottom here with a nice inverted hammer. And then what's happened today is we traded back down the range of yesterday's candle. So, you know, the 4 hour, we could be having a head and shoulder pattern forming here. I know that's a lower top there, but left shoulder, inverse head, we could be forming a right shoulder over here on the 4 hour. That's about a 79% retracement down there, fraction short. And we're getting support here at the figure and last week's low. So is this that little right shoulder forming as I was just showing on the 4 hour chart? You can be watching for a trend line break, maybe to the upside. Or you could be taking a more aggressive entry if you want to be, putting your stop low here. Is a double bottom forming down there? Is this just the pullback intraday today before we move higher? All right, if we are putting a bottom in here, there's lots of room to move up and make profit. There's a very good risk to reward opportunity here, trading in this area, because this is an imbalance on the day chart and the 4 hour chart. This imbalance here could be getting filled, and getting in this area, moving up to 145.89, which is weekly resistance. There's 750 pips. So there was great risk to, and we could move above that level if the market really wanted to put a spurt on. But, dropping this to a daily, there's the imbalance here. We are getting support here. There's lots of room up to weekly, the last weekly top over here that we moved below at 145.89. So it is a good risk reward structure. It's just how much information do you need to take a trade to believe that area is holding. All right, we'll move it back to the 15. So we're definitely going to bounce down there at the moment. We're not getting a trend line break at the moment, but possibly a head and shoulder pattern there forming as well on the 4 hour chart. All right, for a move up. All right, so what we're seeing on the dollar to the yen is we may be getting support. We may be seeing an upward move on the dollar yen. If that starts to happen, how's that going to translate into the other pairs to the yen? So get rid of that. We might see some upward pressure to the pairs to the yen. Some of the pairs to the yen at the moment are a little bit sideways. So I just want to have a look now at the euro dollar day chart. We had a very good, at the end of last week, we started to put in a lower top. And it looks like yesterday we drove up, and because price started to move above Friday's high and Thursday's high, that lower top kind of got negated. And anybody that got short as they were seeing that lower top probably scrambled and got out of their trades. That's what's moved price back up. But you can see that we hit, what is that, about a 2-week high now, 104.79. Tried to trade above it, and then we got heavily rejected, and we did close back below 103.40, which is monthly resistance. I did a video on this morning. And, is that the signal that we're putting in maybe a top? Could be. If I move to my monthly chart, lots of lines here, but this isn't a downtrend. Is this where we're putting in a lower top? All right, for the next move down. There's no trend change there at the moment, other than the fact that we're just having a month up. That's not a trend change. That's just correction against the overall long-term move that we've been having down. Yes, the weekly trend is up, but we rejected this weekly high here at 103.68 2 weeks ago. We rejected. We were back below here. We're back below 103.40 and that weekly top at the start of the day. We're obviously back above again. So are we topping out here? Or is it just a complete fight between the buyers and the sellers? And we're going to see a long-term win by the buyers overall? All right, but a very nasty candle yesterday to the downside, which would, potentially, if we break the low yesterday, that will start to signal that double top forming. Can we then break below day supports and weekly support here? If we can, we could then, see maybe a long-term move back down to 95.36. The weekly, which will be a monthly low when we start next month. That will be a monthly low down there. Are we topping out up here to move down here? If we are topping out up here, of course, now is the time to get short. I don't know if it's going to be moving down to 95.36, but if this is where we're topping out, just to put in the next lower top of the monthly chart, there is a chance that we could move down to here long term. So this would be the best area to, to try to get yourself positioned. Slav Euro only managed to touch the center line today. Yeah, we're at the moment, after that very negative candle, if we just move down the time frames, we're having a move up from a lower bottom. And as you're just mentioning, Slav, we're only holding at the central pivot. Less and less weak on pivots, a strong downtrend. We had a very strong sell-off yesterday, but if we're starting to form a strong downtrend, we don't spend too much time above the central pivot point. So is it holding there today at the central pivot point? We're already 2 candles down from there. Is this where we're topping out today? Failed there twice today to then put the high in for the day to move down. So you need to decide that. I would personally want to just sell straight into weekly support. That could be at the moment. But if we can get a clear move below 103.40 today, I mean, it's fine to be a seller up here at the central pivot point, but you may have missed that opportunity by now. So if it doesn't come back up there again to give you that opportunity, then you might need to wait for a clear break of 103.40, which is monthly support resistance. And over the coming days, do we see like a clear move away from that area first of all, and then watch for that area to be resistance as this maybe wants to start to decline? Can it come back up to 103.40 and that level become clear resistance? All right. So today you can watch Now, I will be watching the central pivot point if you haven't positioned yourself, or the figure. That area, does price revisit and offer you an opportunity to trade down? All right. It doesn't seem to have much upside on this pair. Some of the other pairs are having a bit more of an upside. Let's go to the Euro Yen. This is, if you go to the weekly chart, it is putting a lower top here. I'm not convinced that we're truly breaking to the downside yet, because the monthly trend structure here is very strong. I mean, we could have a month down at some point, but it doesn't change that monthly trend. So do be aware what the monthly trend is. It is up. Now, if the monthly structure changed to down, well, okay, yes, we could be clearly failing over here, and we could be failing here already, but the monthly structure is too slow to tell us that at the moment, and that is still very much structured to the upside. Now, if we do get a clear break of this weekly low, which is then going to put in a lower top here, then at least that will start to maybe amp up the selling pressure, because at the moment, as you get to the day chart and 4-hour chart, it is very slow going and range bound. It keeps trying to pop back up. So, and that's because the monthly trend is up. So maybe it's breaking to the downside at the moment. So, you know, next line of support's at 142.55, that weekly support level there. And really, you know, if you're wanting to get short, you should have been short up here at resistance. That was your best opportunity about a week ago when we were up at a 79% retracement, I think it was. So we had a nice 79% retracement, and then over time, it's just been drifting down below the support levels. But be very aware of 142.55, that could hold. All right. Be very aware of this low here as well at 143.68. That's the intervention low from the Bank of Japan. I know we're below it at the moment, but we've been above it already today. All right. So that's that low over here. It's fractionally above last week's low. So we are wanting to be below last week's low at the moment. But really, you know, there was that 79% retracement there. There was another one in here from high to low. It came back up. So even if we're looking at a smaller structure here, we're getting to the profit taking area. Now, this is where you should be getting in at support, so the 127 extension of that 4-hour range. This is where you take your profit. So for me, this is too far down within the current move to think about shorting it right now, because my maximum ability to make profit would be to sell it on this failure up here, take profits down here. All right, so at the moment, this is on the sidelines for me, but you can be watching down here, because if this comes down to 142.55, starts to hold, then we could see a movement back up as well. I know we've only got one day of the month left, but I've mentioned this before. There's last month's low. So that's a range of the previous month. We've already seen support. Let me get rid of that fib. We've already seen support over here at the 79% level. So maybe we could come back down to test the weekly. That's a weekly low where it got support at the 79% level of last month's range. Maybe we are coming down here for a final look to hold, to move all the way back up. All right. If we're going to move much, much further down, we really need to clear this low with some conviction. At the moment, there's a high chance that level could be support down at 142.55. So be aware that we're trading within the range of last month. There's a 79% level. So you're heading into the profit taking area at the moment. So if you are short, be aware of where we're at. All right. You know, and if the dollar yen starts to scream north, this is probably going to get a bit of a bid on it, because we're going to see the Japanese yen getting sold, aren't we? All right. We've covered the euro dollar. Let's have a look at the pound dollar. Now, I'm a little bit reluctant to be a seller on this pair at the moment. It is moving back up to the top of a consolidation range over here. I have had a fib drawn from this all the way across this range. This has been the strongest pair to the US dollar through the month. And it is still holding its form in terms of higher tops and bottoms. It seemingly might be not wanting to get back above 120.24 there, that top, with too much conviction. However, it would always be a safer sell if this day chart structure turned down. All right. Any US dollar negative news at the moment is going to push this up, and it is holding its uptrend at the moment. So whilst it's just, it is maybe a bit of a counter trend, difficult trade to trade down. Now the 4-hour structure is holding to the downtrend. We've just had maybe a 62% rally, and we're moving back below that top. If this comes back up and forms a swing point, and you can draw a trend line and get a tight entry, and see a failure around the 62 level here where it's kind of rejected at the moment, then that might be an opportunity to get short. But be aware the trend is still up on the daily. Okay. Be a safer sell if we had a double top forming, or we were, selling in line with the day chart downtrend. We don't have that yet. So whilst the monthly trend is still down, it's very much like the euro dollar, having a very good month up. Monthly trend is still down, but the weekly and daily are up. So watch the 62 if you like. We could get a higher move. We had a really nice failure yesterday, and so that was Monday into Friday. Friday we started to get heavy going at the 121 level. Heavy going yesterday at 121 before we broke down. If we get, what news did I say was coming out later in the day? CB consumer confidence at 1 in the morning. That could push this back up to the 121 level. That would be a better level to be looking to short this if you thought we were topping out. All right. There's always the other side of the coin. That 4-hour structure is down at the moment. On the day chart, though, we gotten support down at 119.58, which is, I believe from memory, 119.58. I think it's a monthly level from over here. 119. Where am I getting 119.58 from? Pretty sure it's a monthly level from over here, or a weekly level from over to the left. And we've also dipped slightly down to 119.33 yesterday, which is a weekly low over here. Okay, so we have this, this day chart structure is still up. We've pulled back to potential level of support. So there is the other side of the coin that, we are obviously at the top of the range, but do you want to still be buying for maybe a break above the top of the range? All right. For me, I don't want to be, because we're so high up within the range, but potentially that trend can just hold and continue to move up. All right. So they drop back down to my 4-hour. You can see they're getting support at 119.58 to 119.33 support. We could revisit that area today. That could hold. You can see all these 4-hour tops to the left, and you may be much more the frame of mind that we're going north still. So that would be an area to look for a buy if you're on the buyer side. On the seller side, at the moment it is 4-hour structurally down. And I was just saying on the 15-minute chart, the best level would be up here at 121. That would be the level I would personally watch, because we failed there yesterday, we failed there Friday. So that's the failure level for the sellers. All right. So two sides of the market there. You could be looking to be a buyer down at support area here, 1958 down to 1933, seller up at the 121 level. All right, let's move left to get over to the Aussie pairs. Now the Aussie yen, whilst I've been talking, it's starting to fail last week's low. It's underneath it. It's failing there. Let's go back to the daily. So it has been very, very range bound. It is, it's broken out of this little narrow daily chart range. yesterday. It's come back up to test that area, and it is holding at that area at the moment, intraday on the 15-minute chart. So, you know, that could be where resistance is today to move down. It is still very range bound. It couldn't move and hold below this low here at 92.59. It wanted to pop back up, and you know, we have a bit of a gap up here from the open of yesterday. You know, my much more preferred option, if I was going to look for a trade on this pair, would be, in fact, let me go to the daily chart. Let me put that fib to the top of that swing point there. Is, you know, see where the gap is here? It lines up with the 79% level. So whilst the pair's rather small in its ranges and it's not wanting to break through support and hold below support, there's always a high chance we can pop back up to much more higher to the 79% levels. So for me, up at the 79% level, 93.70 would be a much higher probability option to look for a trade down. You can see that this gap up here hasn't quite got filled from trading on Monday, just there. All right. Now, of course, it might not get there, but that's the most high probability area as well. We've got this imbalance in here that needs some filling. It's filled it a little bit, so we're about still that imbalance bit there. There's still that gap up there. So there's a high chance that price is going to come up and fill. Yeah, we filled it a bit more here. So you need to work out, do you think last week's low and broken day support there is going to hold as resistance to move down now for the rest of the week? Or do you want to pick the higher level? All right. You know, what's your setup to sell? We are getting a trend line break here at the moment. All right. So maybe it is topping out here. My preferred option would be up here. When I see a 79% level and there's a gap there, there's always a high chance price will come up and fill the gap. So if that is the case, do I want to trade here? But you need to work out yourself exactly where you'd like to trade. There's some key components there. There is a gap up here. There's an imbalance here that may need to be filled to the 4-hour chart, back to it. So up here now would be, I think, a better level, but love how that gap has appeared there. What you're asking me, why there's a gap there? It was because the price on Monday, when the market opened on Monday, the market opened down. It's between Friday and Monday. Well, there's Monday's candle. All right. It's from the close of Friday to the open of Monday. That's where the gap is. That's where we closed on Friday, and that's where we opened on Monday. And then we came up and there's a little bit of a gap. What does it tell us? Well, if you get a gap, often price gaps are filled. All right. So the fact that there's a gap up there, often price will come back up to trade in that space where we haven't traded at the moment. So what I've colored it in, see how price came back up and it left an area where we didn't trade in. We gapped down from there, from the close to the open, which was there. And then we traded back up and we haven't filled there. And often when we don't fill the gap initially, at the start of the week, later on in the week, we'll come back up and trade in that area. So for me, we could well come back up to that level. So for me, that would be the best level to look for to trade there. But, you know, it might not get there. This could be the area to trade too, but I would prefer that area personally. All right, Aussie dollar. All right, it is putting in a lower top on the daily. We've got this major range here, which is a monthly range. And we've put in a top here, fractionally above the 62% level. We put in a lower top pretty much at the 62% level. And it is a bit messy here at the moment. we close back below what is weekly and monthly resistance here. We got back below on the close today, but then we popped all the way back above. So it's a bit frustrating when you start to see some follow through to the downside and then it doesn't follow back up the next day. Slav, you're asking me, so it's sort of like an imbalance. Yeah, so just treat a gap like an imbalance. They often get filled. Because there's a gap here as well on the Aussie dollar between Friday's close and Monday's open here. We're coming up in today's trading to fill that gap. So we've got daily resistance here at 67.47. Are we coming back up to that level today to hold, to then move down again? It's getting mixed here. Lower top, this could be forming a higher bottom. It's not easy. Higher time frame trends are down. Day trend is getting very mixed. So what that means is that the buyers and sellers are fighting at the moment. Some of the buyers want to push it up higher. Some of the sellers are coming in to push it down. Nobody's really winning. But potentially this could be where we're forming a lower top on the monthly chart for the next longer term move down. All right, for our chart, we draw a fib in from that high to that low. Just have a look at that whole kind of range. And there's the gap in here. We'll see that more closely on the 15. So the gap at the moment that hasn't quite been filled. Still a fraction of a gap there. But see how it came up? See that gap here? We traded all the way down, and we're coming all the way up today to fill that gap. We haven't quite filled it. Sometimes it doesn't quite fill it. A couple of pips might get missed, but it has come up almost. I would be much happier if it filled it completely and maybe just tested 67.47. So let's just put that area in there. I would still be watching that to see if we can get a slightly higher move into that area. And then if it fails there, I'd be happy that the gap got filled. I'd be happy that we tested daily resistance and held. And then does it offer you a setup to sell? And we've got the 79% level at 67.50 up here. All right. So are we coming up for a further test and further up there today? We've already done today's range as well. So this is a little bit overextended. So maybe we can't get all the way up to there. Maybe we're already failing. So look for a trend line break maybe in this area. We don't have that yet. All right. I mean, your current trend line, let's assume that's a swing point low that's maybe forming there. Your current trend line's kind of something like that, if that's going to be a swing point. All right. So look for a possible fair up here. I'm looking at this as, let me just tidy a few things off. We'll just go to the higher time frames. There's the monthly. That's a lower top to a lower bottom. I'm just looking at this as being corrective at the moment to put in the lower top. Pretty similar on the weekly here, lower top, lower bottom, looking for a lower top to form here. It's not giving it easy at the moment, but that's what I'm generally looking at. All right, back to my 15. So I'm looking at, oops. Looking at, there's a 79% fib there to fill that gap. So that if we could test and fill up there, that would be great. Cover the euro pairs, cover the pound pairs. Let's get into the New Zealand pairs. New Zealand yen. So that's a weekly top that I've been using as resistance up to this weekly top. I've been classing that whole area there as resistance. Cameron, you're saying, could that be a reversal too, as it did on the 1st of Feb? What pair are we talking about? Aussie dollar. Could that be a reversal too, as it done on the 1st of Feb? So you're looking at the 1st of Feb 2009 on the Aussie dollar. Have you got your date right? 1st of Feb 2009 on the monthly. So you're looking at this low here. Well, that's where we bounced from. I mean, yeah, we've reversed from that level of support, but at the moment, structure-wise, we still got on this monthly chart here. Of course, we bounced from that low there, but structurally, we've got a lower top, lower bottom. I mean, I can't say we could. I mean, we could be putting a long-term bottom in there to go way, way higher, but we're not going to know that unless we take out that monthly top here. So how do we trade? At the moment, the monthly trend's down. The weekly trend's down. So until we take out that top here, I have to assume that that long-term trend's still down. I mean, yes, if you got long here, down there, there's happy days and you could be trading that possibility. But right now where price is, I don't know if I can trade that possibility because it looks right now where price is when we get to the day chart, it's potentially looking like it's topping out at the 62% retracement. So yeah, we've had a reversal down here at that level you're discussing, but price to me is kind of looking like it's maybe topping out here at the moment. So then I just have to trade what I'm seeing, which, you know, I mean, this could go sideways and break strongly north. And yes, this could be a long-term bottom, but, you know, we'll just have to wait and see what price does. All right. All right. For the third time, let me put that in. All right, so New Zealand yen, my day chart. I've got this whole area of weekly resistance from that high up there to that low there, and we're back below 86.21 at the moment. And we pretty much came up to that weekly resistance all the way at the top. And then we've pulled back now. Structurally, this is still in an uptrend. On the daily, but we failed up here. So are we going to break down to the downside? It's a bit difficult at the moment. You know, it's going to need to read long term. We're going to need to see a break below 85.14.8 for a long term move to the downside. I think I said 14.8. All right, 85.14.8 support at the moment. I'm trying to hold resistance from over here at the moment. There is a range here. So I just want to know where the 79% level is. All right, so at the moment, we're testing the 79% level. I mean, if you want to take a position, it might come back up to retest resistance in the 79% level. You could put your stop above the high and you're looking for a long-term move down to the downside on this pair. All right, that's the reversal option. Doesn't structurally turn into a downtrend until we break below here though. But we've obviously been breaking down from failing at resistance at the top. All right, if I was going to engage on this pair at the moment, I would like to be trading very close to 86.21 and 86.30 on a setup. That's the 79% fib level. And this resistance level here. All right. So that would be the area that I would watch. I know we've already failed there, so you have If you were wise and you knew what was there earlier, there's your 79% fib, there's your resistance level, your weekly resistance level. In there was a good area to look for a trade, to click in, put your stop above the high somewhere. You could be risk-free by now. And is this going to break down? Now, later in the day, it may, it may break that support low. It might give you a 15-minute fib entry and a retest of that level. So, like a 79% retracement. Look and feel like that. You'll have to monitor price, see what it's doing. Of course, it looks at the moment like, okay, that's where it wants to put the high in for the day, but it might come back for a retest. So you can watch for that retest. All right. All right, New Zealand dollar. Now, it's been very frustrating. Closed below monthly resistance this morning, but then it's moved all the way back above it. So let's go to the monthly. Here's that level I've got drawn in, 62.04. We were back below that level earlier, well, the close of yesterday. So the monthly, there's a top here, there's a bottom here. Are we coming up at the 79% level here of the monthly range to put in a lower top? Of course, we could maybe put a long-term bottom here because it's very close to that bottom, a bit like you were saying before, Cameron, on the Aussie dollar. But until we take out a monthly top, I'm still looking at it as this is corrective. To the weekly, look at the major tops and bottoms on the weekly. That's the lower top, lower bottom. There's your 79 look. On the close, we were back below this area. In this area, 62.04, I think that's 62.06. 62.06 is weekly resistance, 62.04 is monthly resistance. But of course, we're trading above there again at the moment. Structure of the day is still up though, high tops and bottoms, but I was looking at this as a failure below 6,400. I was hoping 62. Let me get my numbers right. We closed back below 62.04. I was looking at 62.04 to be resistance on maybe an intraday move back up today, but it's popped back above for now. It could, let me just double check. I don't know if it's traded above yesterday's high yet. Hasn't quite traded above yesterday's high. It'd be nice if it actually traded above yesterday's high just and then failed. And then we trade and break below this low here tomorrow, and then we'll start to put in some form of a lower top. But it is just holding to its upward structure here at the moment on the daily, whilst the monthly and the weekly is down. Monthly and weekly will definitely turn up if we take out this top, but I don't know if we're going to take that top out. We're at the 79% level here, failing. Is this the last lunge up? Let's go to the 4-hour chart. You could draw a fib across the whole range. I was using the more recent range on the 4-hour. There's a 62 level there. Be nice if we just spiked above that top and then withdrew. All right, so there's yesterday's top. See that gap? For those, we've been talking about gaps today. There's the gap on Monday. And then see how he filled it. And this is often what happens, is we gap down and we come back up to the gap, filling it. That's where we top out for the day in a downtrend, and then we trade down. Just vice versa if it's in an uptrend. All right, so these can be very good levels to look to trade down from as we fill the gap. You can see there yesterday. All right. As well, I'm pretty sure where we're filling that gap yesterday. Let me get rid of that fib. There was probably a nice little fib range in there from that to there. There's a nice 79% level there as we filled the gap, and then we traded down. All right. Now we haven't quite taken out yesterday's high. Maybe we're just failing just short of yesterday's high once more. to trade down all day long. You can look for a trend line break to maybe start to initiate to the downside. But I would monitor this fib range now from high to low. I'm still looking to the downside. I feel like, you know, on the monthly, weekly, we've potentially topped out at the 79% level. It's not giving it easy. When I saw this closing down here this morning, I wasn't expecting that we would really get too much above 62.04, but of course we have. Market's always right. But we could be back below that level by the end of the day. So staying at the 62 level of that whole range, is that where we're putting the top of the day in to move all the way down today? We're also saying here there's a little bit of a price got driven up here to fail. See how it's consolidatory here. Price got driven up to fill the gap, to fill some orders before selling down. So all we've done is come back to the same area where price got driven up to fill orders. Maybe prices just got driven up here to fill more orders to move to the downside. All right, so look for your setup to sell maybe on a failure at that 62 level. All right, dollar Canadian. All right, so the weekly, your support and resistance has been working very nicely on some of these pairs. This weekly level of support on the dollar Canadian for sure, that's put in a higher bottom here. It's just contending with now this daily level. Now this weekly trend is up. We are just holding at this area of resistance from the day chart, which is here. So if you're looking to initiate a trade, you don't want to be trading too close to that resistance level in case we keep wanting to fail there. But we're putting in a higher bottom. Are we ultimately going to move through there to put in a higher top? I think we probably will. 4 hours just bouncing off 4 hour support here. Looks like it's gotten support for the day there. We have been moving up in some of those other pairs like the New Zealand dollar and the Aussie dollar. Just looking at my other screen, dollar yen is potentially putting in a bottom down at its low of the day. So it's looking like the US dollar is just starting to pick up its gains again after, you know, selling off. All right, so this looks very much, see that upward move over here. Looks like we just filled an imbalance here. See this imbalance that we created? See where prices just moved back to on the dollar Canadian? Just completed that imbalance there. A little bit short of 134. That could well be the low of the day. And it's just false broken. That low just there is that 4 hour support level. Just here, this looks like a false break of 4 hour support. Wouldn't surprise me now to see this trade up all day. So I think the picture at the moment on this day chart is that we've had a pullback to the 62% level here, and we're moving up to the 127 extension or a bit higher. All right, to further move up. Now, if that is the low of the day and you like to trade the dollar Canadian, you could be looking for the 15-minute fib entry, draw a fib up as this moves up. Look for the 62.79% levels for a pullback for then a further move up today. Okay. All right, getting into now, I've only got the gold to go through. Anybody trading gold at the moment? It's not in the best position, is it, at the moment? So the weekly trend is theoretically up. And we've had this triple bottom here. We've moved above this top to a higher top. We're getting support on this weekly low, so weekly top here to put in a low. And we're having a week up this week at the moment. So are we forming a higher bottom here to move further up? All right, daily. I don't like where it's sitting. It's right in the middle of, your support and resistance. But as we are ascertained at the moment, the weekly trend is up. This 4-hour chart, though, doesn't look very promising to the upside, does it? As you bring it down to the 4-hour chart, last week's high we false broke. There's maybe a left shoulder here, head. You can even class this little area. There's a left shoulder. On the 4-hour chart, are we starting to form a head and shoulder pattern? We've tagged the 79% level, which is opposite these two left shoulders, or these two highs. That any one of those highs could be used for left shoulder. So that looks to me like it's looking a bit more to the downside there from that area. 79% failure to the downside today. All right. That's what it's looking like intraday. I'm going to leave that like that. We can review that when I come back on Thursday. Looking a little bit more like a head and shoulders there to the downside, failing at last week's high at the moment, structurally there. Aussie gold, is it not creating another level on the daily? It's creating that high there. That's the weekly, that's that weekly minor bottom there, which is a daily support level there. I mean, the daily trend is up, but the 4-hour is looking a little bit weak. Let's just draw a fib across this range. So that bounce from there has been a 62% rally. We could have moved down, bounced on weaker support, come up. Are we putting a top here to move down this way to the downside? It's not easy going at the moment. You're not very close to the major levels of support or resistance. You're kind of in the middle of the range. So if I was breaking it down to time frames to look to trade gold at the moment, as I move to the 4-hour charts, the 4-hour chart is structurally to the downside, and it's kind of showing me a bit of a head and shoulder pattern. So if that was the only thing I could trade in the world and I had to trade today, I would be looking at that 79% level if it could retouch that level to trade in that area to trade down. All right, so I'm only telling you what I'm seeing. Personally, I would maybe look at to trade something else. It's not that clear, but as you move to the 4-hour chart, I'm seeing that structure there that could lead to the downside. All right, which is against what we're seeing on the weekly chart, which is to the upside. So I'd much prefer to be able to trade something that, is kind of in line with the day chart and the weekly chart, and everything looks great. Whereas we're not quite seeing that on gold. So weekly trend is definitely up. And in fact, if I take that fib off, the day trend is up as well. It's just, weekly trend is up, the day trend is up. This is higher top, higher bottom. But do you see, as you go down structurally, do you see a setup to be a buyer? I don't. So, yeah, all right. So you're saying not support, but you mean it's at resistance right now in the daily? Previous support. Well, that's where price is right now. And you're saying it's at resistance right now in the daily. There's resistance there from back in time. So we could be saying that we're there. It's around about 1765. Let me put the exact number in. $65.46. We're a fraction short of that resistance. But the more important levels of support or resistance is that weekly level there and that weekly level there of support. Support there, resistance there. I mean, the market could be playing off that high there. We do have that, you know, where we've been failing is a 62% level, last week's high, fraction short that day resistance level, if that was the one you were discussing. It starts to make a little bit more sense with that resistance there and the 62% of that range drawn in. Then I still structurally come up with the same results in that, you know, the biggest structure could be a move from that 62% level down this way. All right, so that's the biggest structure fib. And then the minor one on the 4 hour, where we've got this maybe left shoulder area here. We've got a 79% retracement coinciding with these two highs here. So there's a bit of a lead to the downside maybe as we get to do that daily work and 4 hour work, but the weekly trend is up. So you've got a bit of a mix there. Do you want to go against the weekly that's been forming? So, you know, I don't trade gold, so it's not going to worry me too much, but that's what I'm seeing. Maybe we could be putting a lower top here on the daily at the 62% retracement, and structures on the 4 hour, we've got a head and shoulder pattern maybe forming there to move down. But if I had something else to trade, I'd go and trade something else, but that's just what I'm seeing on gold. All right, everybody, so that's giving you a review of what's going on. We're definitely having a bit of a battle at the moment. We obviously had US dollar strength coming in yesterday. Let's go back to the dollar index. We're getting a little bit of an uptick on the daily candle here from the low of its day. Are we going to be positive by the end of the day? And you know, the pair that looks very similar to the dollar index in its structure is the dollar yen. And this is starting to move up from the area I was discussing. Maybe we're going to get a trend line break at the moment. So maybe we are putting in that, you know, on the day chart, it looks very similar. This potential double bottom here, like it's seeing on the dollar index. So have we had that pull back to the 79 area, just fraction short? Getting support at last week's low in the figure. There's the most relevant trend line right now. All right, let's just going to have a look at what the euro dollar is doing before we finish up. And any final questions, just type them in. All right, so we are, you know, trying to get down on the euro dollar. What's that pound dollar doing? So I don't want to be selling into this support at the moment. I'd prefer a break below and a retest of 103.40 as resistance. Pound dollar, well, it could have failed up now at 62. It's moving back below 120. That day chart high at 120.24, you may see a further retest of that today. So it's back to the daily. This top here, you might see a further retest and failure there. I know that day chart is up, but this is very high up here at the top of the range. We could be potentially starting to break down. That 4 hour structure is clearly lower tops and bottoms. And as we said before, it's failing at the 62 up there. Might give you another retest of 120.24 today. So if you're not short that, but you want to be, watch 120.24 on a possible retest later in the day. All right, coming up before I leave you, our webinars this week for the rest of the week. My webinar page will work. All right, here we go. Tomorrow I'm going to go through the figure, and some pairs have been working very nicely with the figure. Euro yen has been working very nicely with the figure over the last couple of weeks. So we'll talk about the figure, simple trading strategy that you can employ around the figure. Okay, so that's what's coming up tomorrow, and more live market analysis on Thursday. So if you want to join me, just register your interest getting into the Christmas month. Thursday. All right, everybody, be very aware of the news. Of course, at the moment, everything seemingly is driven by US dollar news. We've got US dollar news coming out 1 o'clock in the morning for me, Queensland. If you're New South Wales, that's 2 o'clock, which is even harder than it is for me. 1 o'clock in the morning is real hard for me at the moment. I much prefer it when we don't have daylight saving. Or I much prefer it when they have daylight saving in the US rather than non-daylight saving, but you just have to live with these late times when the news is coming out. So be very aware that the market is definitely driven by US news at the moment, which is quite frustrating, but that's just the way the market is. As I said last week, I'm generally only having one trade at risk at the moment because I can see the market going one way with my analysis, and then sometimes the news comes out and just drives it straight back the other way, which can be very annoying. So I'm not having multiple positions open at the moment that are at risk when I'm having to deal with this US news coming out. So of course you can trade it any way you want, but you need to manage the risk, know where the US dollar items are coming out. Don't have too much risk on at the moment because the market's very much focused on the US news. Is it positive and negative? And we're getting swings one way and the other at the moment. And we're not quite sure whether we've topped out on those pairs to the US dollar at the moment. Every time we get bad US dollar news, it keeps driving it back up. All right, everybody. So that's what's happening at the moment from my point of view. So good luck with your trading. I look forward to seeing you next time.